Hi everyone, it's Jim from Pure Wave Audio. Today we are talking about the truth of selecting microphones. So normally when it comes to selecting microphones, people are selecting microphones depending on what they're doing. And what they're not adding into the situation is how good is the source? And what do you want it to sound like at the end of the chain? So for instance, if I want to record, let's say, a triangle, which is a percussion instrument, it's very, very high-end information in there. A normal person would say, oh, well, if you want to capture something with all that high-end information, you should be using a pencil condenser. But what do I want it to sound like later? I don't want it to sound like a scientific method process of all this high-end, like, grating on my ears. I want it to sound smooth and silky and palatable to the consumer that's listening to it. So in that case, I'm maybe using a ribbon mic to dull down the high frequencies and make it palatable. So in that case, you don't just buy a pencil condenser because you want to record a triangle. And that's true for vocal mics, guitar amps, acoustic guitars. In fact, on our website, purewaveaudio.com, you can find our do you use a pencil condenser or a large diaphragm microphone when recording acoustic guitars, and it talks about some of this. So today I'm going to actually be recording a classical guitar, but the context of it is it's on a rock album project, if you will. So for me, it's not about just by itself and it has to be perfectly clear and all that. It's about smooth, boosting it over this mix, having that solo kind of jump out over this huge rock background and orchestra and everything that's behind it. So let me show you the two mics that I'm going to be choosing. So here we have it. These are the two microphones that I'm going to be choosing to test out. Now one is the SE Electronics Rupert Neve R&R1 ribbon mic on the left, and the other one is the Pearl ELM-C, which is a square ribbon microphone condenser. And what's cool about this microphone is, and you could probably see it, it's a square diaphragm, but it's rectangular, almost like a ribbon. So what a rectangular diaphragm does for you is it doesn't give you the typical boost in the 10K range that a round diaphragm will give you. And so any kind of 1-inch large diaphragm microphone is always going to give you this boost in the high end. In this case, I'm looking for something that's flat response going straight across, and this microphone's going to do that for me. Now with this microphone, not only is it going to be a flat response all the way up to 25K, it's also going to get rid of some of the transients that a guitar will have. Now if this was steel string, it would be super awesome. Since it's classical, there's not going to be, there's going to be transients, but it's not going to be as bright, if you will, as a steel string guitar. So I'm assuming that once I use this with maybe a hint of EQ, it might be super silky smooth. And we're just going to have to test them and see what happens. So let me give you one other example about choosing microphones. Behind me I have a drum set with cymbals, and I have 1-inch diaphragm condensers on the cymbals for overheads. I also have pencil condensers on the cymbals themselves. So why would I use a pencil condenser compared to, let's say, a wide diaphragm, compared to a ribbon mic? Again, it all depends on how good the source is and what I want it to sound like later. So for me, I like 1-inch diaphragm condenser mics on my cymbals. Now I have Peisty Signature series cymbals, which are really smooth cymbals and have a really nice long decay. So in this case, my 1-inch diaphragms gives me a little bit of a boost in the high end, and it's silky smooth and it works great. Now if I had brash type cymbals or something that was a little bit harsher sounding, or I was doing maybe a jazz album or something different like that, I might choose to use ribbon microphones and actually smooth out that high end 100%. And so it's totally up to you on what you want it to sound like. So don't always assume that there's one type of microphone that records one type of instrument. It's not necessarily the case. There's certain options and ranges that you want to be in when you're choosing a microphone, but for the most part, it's using your ears, seeing the situation that's in front of you at that time, and then choosing the appropriate mic. Now, if you're in a situation where you're buying a microphone and you don't know what to get, there's all these reviews and all this stuff going on, and shootouts, and there's all sorts of crazy stuff. Now, we have one of the biggest shootouts on our website. I think it was like 29 or 35 microphones, all captured on tons of different sources. We use laser pens and all sorts of stuff for alignment, very scientific. In fact, some of the manufacturers that were in that mic shootout, which they didn't know we were doing, actually bought our files afterwards so they could test between their microphones against other manufacturers. I thought that was really cool. So anyways, you could use shootouts to check different things and different sources to see what they sound like, but they're reference points. They're reference points to see how a microphone might be in a certain situation. And then specifically when you're listening between those samples, you could hear how this mic might be a little brighter, how this one's a little bit duller, and use one of those as a benchmark reference as you go through those samples. And we put a lot of different mics, even mics that aren't supposed to be used on certain instruments, just because in case you own it, that's your benchmark, and now you know what all this stuff sounds like if it was at your studio. When purchasing a microphone, you're never going to go wrong with a 1-inch large diaphragm condenser in general. If you need one mic that's going to do a lot of different jobs, then that's the mic you want to get. Now, if you want to do a tube version of it, totally cool. And of course, you'll be lugging a power supply around if you do that. So think about all these things. If you have more questions, feel free to comment below. Or if you want to hear me talk about other topics, let me know what you want to hear. This whole vlogging thing's a little bit new to me. Most of my videos have been very polished and in the past, and I'm not too sure I like these cameras, and being an audiophile, I'm not sure I like the audio that's on these cameras, but it should get better as we go. And of course, this is for you guys, so I hope that you support us by hitting the notification, subscribe, buying products from purewaveaudio.com. We really appreciate that. And let us know where you want me to take this, and I'll go there with you. Appreciate it.